beliefs change.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and strength to change the things I can. Remember your divinity. This was all part of the plan. Stay conscious of your energy. If you wanna shoot those beams from your hands, stop to observe the symmetry. So God is 10 toes in the sand. We tell him like this though. From the P to San Francisco, then hit 101 south out to Pismo. Standing on the pier, still don't understand my peers. Feeling so panicked at the disco. Still feeling blessed, God got me on the list though. That Palo Santo burning real slow. Don't worry if the fake get it, cause the real know it's all just an illusion. Spinning ball of dirt, don't get caught in the confusion. Nothing matter but the music. So nothing matter but the music, yeah. Is that water or gasoline? 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 So let me shed my skin, take it to the soul. Closet full of skeletons, dancing with some ghosts, while the demons keep my weaknesses spinning on repeat all night. And when the party get to poppin', we don't sleep. Might as well have a drink. Started to think it's only deep as the secret you keep. Meet me at 6 feet. Tell the reaper he was lagging, so just meet me in the streets, and he can come clean up what's left of the industry. Lines I see crystal clear between friends and enemies. Who's really down to ride? Who just pretend to be? Better watch these vampires. Know they feed off your energy. You on fire? You want water or gasoline? 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 You want water or gasoline?
Yo, yo, yo. Can you hear me? Mic check 1 2.
Got you.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I'm actually somewhat on time for Chillin' With Chezz. Hour late, but you know how I go, how I roll here. I have joining me today Mr. Andrew Defy.
Greetings and salutations, Earthlings. How y'all doing today?
Yes. He is one of the openers for the Zion show coming up on Friday, for which I do have tickets. Get those tickets, $15. You got like 7 dope acts that you can see come out to Hype Bar and Grill and, have some fun. Tap in with me or Mia Katana for those tickets. But Andrew, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm fantastic. I'm out in Stockton enjoying a beautiful day today.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo. Shout out to all the parades and whatnot going on in the city today. Actually, shout out to the parade. Oh yeah, we got a float. TVOSJ has a float at the Cinco de Mayo parade today. It's going on 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's still going on downtown Stockton. I'm sure most of you guys are out there right now chilling because it's a nice day. So yeah.
And if not, get there now.
Right? It's not too late. You got a few more hours. So I've known you for many years.
Many years now.
Yeah. Met you the same time I met Abby and Braxy back in the day. And it's funny because Abby just shared a picture from my page from back in the Plea for Peace days. Did you ever play there?
Yeah. Love those guys.
So why don't you start by telling us like what you were doing then and kind of the watered down version of what's been going on the last 10 years.
Oh man. All right. So for the last 10 years, let's see, I think back then I was in San Francisco still, kind of building with some folks out here to bring them out there, and build those bridges. Things got kind of wild in San Francisco. That city took a lot out of me, tried to take a lot more out of me. So I came to Sacramento in 2009, just to kind of get away from the big city. Sacramento was kind of like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where there's like the perfect porridge. Like Sacramento was that for me. Yeah. So I lived out in the Thomas.
Where are you from originally, though? Because you are technically 209.
I mean, like, I feel like the 209 can claim me because, like, my adolescence and my, like, coming of age happens here. Yeah. I was born in Bakersfield, actually Wasco, a city like 30 miles outside of Bakersfield, and moved up here in high school. I did high school in Manteca. So it's always been, like, Stockton was, like, the big city when I was in high school. And when I started doing hip hop and doing shows, like it was kind of the first big city that I ever played, and like, you know, it was a big deal to be out here playing with folks like Icarus Jones and Neglected back in the day, Gray Space, and a lot of those folks. So that was kind of the come up years ago, like starting to get into this hip hop thing. In 2009, I meet up with the producer. We start working on this dubstep hip hop fusion album that, like, it gets wild.
Can you name the producer?
I mean, I can.
Is there a reason you didn't?
I mean, his name's DJ Rise. Basically, the long story short is we made this record. He took all the masters to it. Everything was registered in his name. I wasn't really smart about the business at that point in my life. So it's still registered. When I went to release the new album, it almost didn't get through distribution because they were like, your name is too similar to someone else's name that's already registered. And I had to be like, that's my name, and that's not me that it's registered to. So it's kind of a complex situation. Right.
A Prince situation.
and like it really ruined music for me as a creative outlet, and just kind of that whole process. We had labels that were kind of talking to us beforehand, and there was just a lot of pressure on, like, we're making the first ever dubstep hip hop album. Like, that album came out a couple months before Wu-Tang did their Enter the Dubstep. Like, folks hadn't really caught on to it, and the whole process kind of became a little more about, like, making something that was going to sell or that was going to, like, pick up versus, like, yo, let's make
Art.
an album.
Yeah.
I always try and tell folks like the first album that I ever made was so that I could say I made an album.
Mhm.
The second album, which is that album, was just to really put out a professional album that you could get online, that was in stores, that had a barcode,
Mhm.
that was professional. And it did that. It just didn't make me any money, and still
Right.
don't make me any money. So it's available for free on my Bandcamp. Don't buy it, you know what I mean? Because that money don't go to me. But yeah, after that, around that time, you know, the universe got its ways. And around that time, I got completely clean and sober. I found this place called Soul Collective. It's an arts and cultural center in Sacramento. At the time when I met them, their building had just burned down.
Mhm.
So they were kind of meeting in classrooms and wherever they could. And right around that time, I wrote a grant for them and came in and helped chisel this ugly tile off the floor in this new building they were renting.
Mhm.
And the first night, it was just like, yo, who are these people? Like, they're so loving, and they know themselves, and they're just their own understanding of themselves and their own self-love was such a light for me that I never, like, I called them up the next day and was like, yo, y'all still got tile floor to chisel up? Like, what's up? Can I come through?
Right.
And so I get involved at Soul Collective that way. I always thought I was just going to be a writer and like a grant writer, and I pictured it with like I would have an office above the center, and I would look down at all the daily activities, and I would write stories about them that inspired people, but I would never like actually come into contact with the youth. Because at the time, especially, like I didn't feel like I was a good example to the youth. I wasn't a good example to the youth, but a big part of that was I didn't see myself as beneficial presence in the lives of those youth. And that kind of all just changed that first summer. You know, they asked me to come in and work the summer program, and I got hooked. You know, these kids are really they teach you as much as you teach them.
Oh yeah.
And they, you know, when I was going through sobriety and everything that meant for me, my whole life changed. It went from being, you know, out in bars every other night trying to play, trying to hustle, trying to network, to like all of a sudden I don't have any of the same friends. I'm not going out any of the same places. I'm not, you know, my whole everything changes up.
Yeah.
So yeah, Soul Collective changed my life, shifted my whole everything, and I became the communications director over there. I started the Facebook page 10 years ago, and we've just been running and gunning ever since. You know, we bought the building a couple years ago. Some amazing things. You know, I've been able to like go out to South by Southwest. We have an official showcase out at South by Southwest every year. We just put out an augmented
reality. How many years
reality.
has it been?
It's, I think, 8 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wait, that you've been with?
Oh,
How many years have you guys had a showcase at?
12 was the first one, I think. So 12,
Dang.
13, 14.
7.
15. Yeah. This year will
7
be
years.
8, yeah. I'm not good at math. It's not my strong suit. I write words.
Yeah, it's 7, not 8.
Word. Noted for promotional purposes.
But 7's a good number. Lucky.
Yeah, it's been really amazing, and even in that, you know, like this squad of people at Soul Collective really are culture curators, and they taught me that, and I think that's one of the most important things that I've learned there. You know, we walked into South by Southwest, and it was all Doritos and Bud Light, and everything was commercial, and there wasn't really a space for cultural artists, activism, any kind of social justice, really anything with a message. Like, you'd see your showcases that had artists with messages, but like the showcase wasn't themed with a message. People weren't like creating calls to action within communities.
Right.
And you know, the last couple of years at South by, there have been huge activism panels, and how are artists using their voices in activism. And I feel like, you know, not that we're entirely, you know, to credit for that, but I do think, you know, we went down there and shifted the culture a little bit.
Right.
One of my favorite stories of Soul Collective is we went down, originally we had an unofficial showcase, and we booked that a couple years off of the grid. And I think the third year that we did it, we got a cease and desist letter from South by Southwest because they couldn't get the lineup that we put together. And, you know, I call our executive director a love Jedi. So she did what she does and worked it out with them. And we're like, why would you hit us with a cease and desist when we could just build together and you could make us official and then we could provide all of this to your festival, you know?
Yeah.
So last year, actually, this past year, Stella won the Community Service Award from South by Southwest. She was one of 6 people honored for that. So yeah, it's been a lot of beautiful things. So in that time, the music though kind of took a back seat. In 2014, I started my own I had this open mic going, and a bunch of these amazing artists came through. And in our city at the time, there was kind of an existing hip hop scene, and they were a little scared of the new blood, or a little, I won't even say scared, because we got some real like talented folks. Fear's not the right thing, but it was like, you know, in Sacramento, there was such a small audience for hip hop. That it was like everyone was trying to hold on to their audience so tightly that like introducing new folks wasn't really on anyone's radar or like their priority list.
See, I don't even think that necessarily was specific to Sacramento. I think that's just the mentality that was there 10 years ago. You know what I mean? 5 years ago. I've noticed a huge difference in OGs over the last 5 years and them like being willing to pass on information.
And I think you see, like I always pointed for the last 10 years, I've always pointed at other cities. Like you look at Atlanta or you look at Houston, where like it wasn't like this one rapper blew up and then you heard about this city. It was like the entire city of Atlanta came up together and announced that they were hip hop. And just seeing how that works. And I think you're starting to see that just in general, you know, folks bringing up the younger generation. And so that's really what ZFG was about. ZFG is the name of the group that I started personally.
Which stands for?
0 forbidden goals, 0 fear granted. Other things
that aren't radio friendly.
Yeah.
0 F's given.
All depending on who you ask, and what the scenario is. They all kind of translate to the same thing, though. You know, zero fear granted. Don't let anything hold you back. Anything you want to do, you can do. And for us, that's been true because of that unity and just like how tightly we were connected together. You know, I had someone for years, you know, it wasn't until last year that someone walked up and asked what ZFG was. Are you guys a poetry group? Are you a rap crew? Are you a promotions company? What are you? And they asked me, and I pointed to And Yes, and he said, we're a support group for artists. And that was the best like definition that I've ever heard of ZFG, because it's not specifically, we've had a skate team at one point, we do events, we do art installations, we do a little bit of everything. It's really like as soon as one of the homies comes in and is like, hey, I got this crazy idea, we're like, okay, how can we make it crazier and bigger? And so, you know, that kind of,
well, yeah, when you say the music took a background for a bit, why don't you tell us, because one of the reasons that we reconnected recently is because I've been doing community events here, and that's kind of what you've been doing over the last 10 years out in Sacramento. So tell us about some of that stuff.
Man, so I started this open mic out there, which is how I meet everybody, and then we lose that venue. And in Sacramento at the time, you could not walk into a spot and be like, I want to book a hip hop show. We're like, oh, we don't do hip hop, right? Like, I'm sure you do out here. I'm sure you do. And like, we had one of the famous stories. Like, we walked into this spot. I had an audience of 80 to 100 people on a Monday night. Like, tell me a venue that doesn't want that crowd in there. And I walked into this bar, and I won't say the name of the bar because it's switched ownership since then. But I said, yeah, I got this open mic and I got this audience, and I can guarantee you this many people will come into your door every Monday night. And they were so excited about it. They said, well, what kind of music do you do? we got folk singers, we got R&B singers, we got comedians, we got jugglers. I got all kinds of like alternative arts folks, and we do some hip hop. Oh, we don't do hip hop here. I'm like, bro, did you hear everything that I just listed off? Like, jugglers be like, so at the time it was really we had a real uphill climb to get space, to make space for hip hop in a lot of the community venues. And so we started doing these things called guerrilla art flash mobs. And we would put up a phone number. It was connected to a Google Voice number, and we called it the hotline, and people would just call it up, and it would tell you where the next guerrilla art flash mob was going to be. And then we would schedule them at local businesses. And part of the thing was there's no cover, but if we're going to the pizzeria, everybody buy a slice of pizza. If we go to the burrito shop, everybody buy something.
Patronize the establishment.
Yeah, because once we walked in, so it started off, we'd get like 50 people out at this pizzeria. And when everybody buys a slice of pizza on a Monday night and they're selling those kind of numbers, it's really hard for them at the end of the night when I say, yo, so we want to book some hip hop shows here. It's hard for them to say no. Well,
and that's the thing. Even though I have faced some resistance in that regard, I do understand where they're coming from in the business aspect, you know what I mean? And if they don't understand the value, it doesn't make any sense for them to do it. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of people that give hip hop a bad name.
Well, and you have to speak to people in the language that they understand. And so if I walk into a business owner and I say, but creativity and self-expression, they don't care about that 90% of the time because they're business minded. What they want to know is what's their bottom line, how's it going to be impacted and affected by what I'm doing. So if I walk into that scenario and I know that, then it's easier for me to navigate a little bit. And you know, that's why the idea of like, you know, we started at 50 people, we ended up with 200 people outside on one of at Lowbrow in the middle of Midtown Sacramento. And it was wild. And to be able after that, because there was videos that went out with these things, we made the news, we made newspapers, we like radio was talking about it. So from then to be able to walk into those venues and say, yeah, we're the ones you've been hearing about, we're the ones that have been bringing all this value to all of these businesses. What's up? Can we talk now? So
actions speak louder than words.
And that was like kind of the real like cornerstone of ZFG. We also did Guerrilla Poetry Month that first year. And that one, our first Guerrilla Poetry Month video somehow got picked up by
When is Guerrilla Poetry Month?
That's every April. For National Poetry Month, we just do it a little different. We like to take poets and just take them out into the community, find a space that's relevant to the piece they're performing. Sometimes it'll just be a walk through the park. Other times people like to get, you know, it's a little competitive amongst my camp for like who can get the most guerrilla with it. You know, we've been kicked out of grocery stores before. We ran up in the Tower Cafe one time. That was really wild that we had to run like full interference for like some folks. There's a video that went viral of Ann Cap performing at Seafood City. She's sitting in a cart and we're pushing her, like her man Kenny is pushing her through the store. So yeah, it's all just to really, you know, I love poetry, but poetry can be super boring. And I feel like one of my like goals and missions on the planet while I'm here is to make poetry as least boring as possible. And like figure out new ways to really shift that idea of what poetry is and introduce people to the spirit of what poetry is, because it's important. The poets are the ones who tell our stories, who document our history. Like the griots, I heard Haiti Baby referencing that recently, and I was like, yo, like that, because that's some real deep knowledge. Like the West African griots, like that's how, like when one tribe would come up on another tribe and they would be like, oh snap, like who is it, who are these folks, what's going on, do we got a beef right now, or are we cool, like so like each one would send out their folks, like their griots, and that's how they would introduce. We are this tribe. We come from here. This is how we do it. This is how we live. This is what we're about. You know what I mean? And like that's the communication. So like it's still that way when you look at the rappers and the poets.
Which is so funny because A lot of Stockton is so mad about how he represented us.
Listen. I might be from here, but I'm not out here like that. I'm a Sacramento representative, and as a Sacramento representative, Stockton, like I saw that, and I was like, yo, this is dope. Like this is on some next. Like this dude's energy is mad live. Yeah, it's unpredictable. It don't sound like nobody else.
Right. And you know, it's funny, going back to what you said about Atlanta and what they do with their artists. YP, shout out again, YP. Made a good point the other day of like, people are calling for like all these other people to be pushed up, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of dope Stockton rappers, but he's got a real chance to make it, so why don't we all just back him? Like, back everybody else too, but back him too, you know what I mean? And that's always been a downfall for Stockton, because even Bay Area, like, all of freaking Oakland loves Hyro. Like, they don't care, you know what I mean?
Right.
But we'll get there.
When, you know, one of my OGs says, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. You know what I mean? So like, it was kind of that idea when, so Sacramento just got on a couple years ago, you know what I mean? Like Mozzie really, like, shout out to that brother, like put the city on.
Right.
I remember I was doing a rap contest, and one night I had representatives from Sony and Geffen that both stopped by the event. I'm like, yo, hold up, you work where? You work with who? What are you doing in Sacramento at the press club right now? Like, why is the industry here?
Right.
And so you started to see, you know what I mean? Like, folks are starting to get a little bit of bubble off of it. You know what I mean? Being from Sacramento means something now, because folks are really paying attention to what Mozzie's doing.
Right.
And you see Hobo Johnson pick up the way that he has. Now he's playing Bonnaroo and, like, out here wild.
Right.
And you see Sacramento on both ends of the spectrum. And I've heard it about both of them. I've heard people say, Mozzie's so violent and Mozzie's so this and da-da-da-da. That's not what we should be promoting. I've heard people say awful things about Hobo Johnson, and that's not who we should be promoting. I feel like this is all biblical. Like, this is that hero, no prophet is respected in his own town.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We got to get better at that part of just realizing
recognizing our Nipseys before they're gone.
Well, and seeing that, like, if, like, whether you mess with Haiti Baby or not, which you should, like, the attention that's coming to Stockton because of him is good for everybody.
Exactly.
The eyes of the industry being on Stockton ain't a bad thing for none of y'all.
Exactly.
Like, but real talk, you should be working on, like, your next project and getting that out more than being online hating on Haiti Baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I guarantee you he's working. You know what I mean? Like, so I mess with that dude.
He is.
And if Haiti catches this, like, holler at us in Sac, bro. I'm trying to do some things. Let's build. Because I thought that freestyle was dope.
Well, YP can get in contact with him, depending on how serious you are about that.
Hey.
We can make that happen. So, all that being said, you just released an album.
Yeah, I did. I'm a rapper now again. It's weird. I was actually out at South by this year, and someone asked me if I was a rapper, and for the first time in like 10 years, I was like, yeah, I am. I mean, I've been writing that whole time. Like, don't ever get it twisted. Like, I write every night. I would go insane if I didn't. I make beats every day almost. Like,
well, and then you do teach a lot of that at Soul Collective.
Yeah. And I produce for a lot of the fam. I'm on people's projects. I'm a part of Avery's heroic play. You know, it's not like I haven't been doing anything. You know what I mean? My sword's not rusty.
Right.
By a long shot, actually, which is kind of funny because I think a lot of people kind of assumed that it was, and then heard the album and were like, oh, you're like really rapping. Like, yeah.
I could do that.
I didn't just need to like shake the dust off or something, you know? But I felt like this album was really, it was really important because I feel like it was almost given to me. You know what I mean? There's like a piece of me in it, but it's also from a source greater than myself.
Divinely inspired.
Yeah. This ain't, I've done a lot of like, I'm better at rapping than everyone else raps in my life, and this ain't that. This is really a journey of self-love and self-discovery. It's called Ultraviolet. It's called Ultraviolet because that's a light frequency that the human eye can't see.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't see our own light, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. And so, it was like over a year and a half process working with the Philharmonic out of Sacramento. If y'all don't know him, check him out. He's amazing. And
phenomenal performer.
Yeah, he co-produced the whole album with me. And yeah, like I said, it just kind of came from a divine place. All of the songs were written, recorded in the order that they appear on the album, like from start to finish. It was kind of just like, here, these are the steps through this process. And I do feel like when people listen to it, I don't know how much you've had a chance to listen to the album, but it is like a kind of a journey.
Yeah, I've peeped it.
Word.
I dig it. You can definitely hear a transition in the subject matter from beginning to end, I would say. And the last song we played before we went live with the microphones was one of the songs off that album, Water and Gasoline, which is actually featuring some of the vocals from Philharmonic.
Yeah.
I wish I could play more, but I don't have any radio-friendly ones except for that one. But I'm going to play it for you guys. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break, and I'll play that one more time now that y'all know what it is. This is Water or Gasoline, Mr. Andrew Defy featuring the Philharmonic.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can. Remember your divinity. This was all part of the plan. Stay conscious of your energy. If you wanna shoot those beams from your hands, stop to observe the symmetry. So God is 10 toes in the sand. We tell him like this though. From the P to San Francisco, then hit 101 south out to Pismo. Standing on the pier, still don't understand my peers. Feeling so panicked at the disco. Still feeling blessed, God got me on the list though. That Palo Santo burning real slow. Don't worry if the fake get it, cause the real know it's all just an illusion. Spinning ball of dirt, don't get caught in the confusion. Nothing matter but the music. Nothing matter but the music, yeah. Is that water or gasoline? 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 So let me shed my skin, take it to the soul. Closet full of skeletons, dancing with some ghosts, while the demons keep my weaknesses spinning on repeat all night. And when the party get to poppin', we don't sleep. Might as well have a drink. Started to think it's only deep as the secret you keep. Meet me at 6 feet. Tell the reaper he was lagging, so just meet me in the streets, and he can come clean up what's left of the industry. Lines I see crystal clear between friends and enemies. Who's really down to ride? Who just pretend to be? Better watch these vampires. Know they feed off your energy. You on fire? You want water or gasoline? 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 water or gasoline? You want water or gasoline? You want water or gasoline? You want water or gasoline?
And we're back. That was Water or Gasoline by Mr. Andrew Defy featuring Philharmonic. Go check him out. Check Andrew out on all those. Actually, you're not on SoundCloud, huh?
This album is not on SoundCloud.
Oh, but you have other stuff on
It's
SoundCloud.
on, yeah. There's a bunch of beats and stuff on SoundCloud.
All the media platforms.
Google, Spotify, add me to your Facebook profile.
Yeah, be friends on Facebook. Everybody's leaving Facebook, though.
Yeah, it's all about the gram, especially for the young folks. I get it, though. Like, I have so many folks that I'm like, yo, you didn't see my Facebook post? And they're like, bruh, I haven't been on Facebook in weeks. My mental health, like, I get it. Stay off the social media if it's not good for you.
Yeah.
But hit me and give me your phone number so I can text you, like, when I got a show or something coming up, you know?
I don't text people either, though, so that's makes it rough.
Oh, so you real antisocial.
Yeah.
You, like, catch me when I'm on the air or don't catch me.
Or in person. Catch me at one of my shows.
Word.
People be like, you want to hang out? I'm like, yeah, I got shows all the time.
Right.
Come on out.
Right.
It's funny. One of the other DJs here, Chef Tobias, she's like on the same thing because she's putting in work. She's out backstage providing food for Ariana Grande right now because she be really on the hustle.
Okay.
But she's like, yeah, we can't be friends unless we're doing business. Like, it's just where I'm at right now.
Like, yo, I tell y'all where I'm at 15 times a month. Like, come and find me. Let's hang out.
Yeah, if we're not setting up a show or meditating or something, then I don't got time.
Say word.
Totally unnecessary, but my OCD would kill me if I didn't do that. I'm like, why? How'd that even get like that? But anyways, back to Ultraviolet. Water or Gasoline is number 4 out of 7.
4 of 7.
So right smack dab in the middle.
Yeah. That's that decision track. You know, that idea of water or gasoline kind of comes from, you know, if you're on fire, if something's on fire, do you want water or do you want gasoline? Like, some things, you know, I had people ask me the night of the release party, a bunch of folks asked me, so should I want water or should I want gasoline?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you got to figure out what the fire is first.
Right.
Because some of these fires, like, you want to pour water on. Some of these you want to pour gasoline on. Like, you really got to look at, like, how things affect you, how things are making you feel, what your gut feeling is about it, what your intuition is about it.
Right.
Versus, like, what other people are telling you about it or what, you know, societal constructs are, like, sitting in front of you, you know?
Yeah, and that's funny because that's kind of how, disclaimer, I'm a big fan of the album. That's why he's on the Zion I Show. But that's kind of always how I took it, was like, yeah, which one? Which one do you want? You know what I mean? Like, where are you going with this? But
also, like, at that time, like, part of the visualization in writing that song was, like, sitting and being on fire and having people run up with these, like, containers that water and gasoline both look a lot alike.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I didn't know who was bringing what. Like, I had a whole bunch of people saying that they loved me,
mm-hmm.
but I had a whole bunch of people that weren't acting like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And really not, you know, people that were telling me that they were there to help, but they weren't helping, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that idea too. And, like, look at what other folks are bringing. Like, first you got to assess your own fire,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to, like, look at what other people are actually bringing to it,
Right.
in accordance to what you want to do with it.
As I mentioned to you guys yesterday in the interview with Sirius P, I went to a psychic fair yesterday, and I went to this class about the crystal tourmaline and cleansing your house with it. And he made up a good point of, like, in regards to energy, like some people feel like, oh, well, if it's positive energy, then it doesn't matter. And he was like, well, negative or positive, it's not yours. So it's going to throw you off balance. You know what I mean? So that's an interesting perspective on that.
Well, I think just that's something I learned in this like ultraviolet process over the last year, was like to really protect my own energy and to understand that I can only affect my own reality. There was a lot of, me trying to create realities for other people and then getting frustrated because they didn't see it the way that I did. I laid out these opportunities in front of you and you're not seeing opportunities, you're seeing obstacles. And why am I so frustrated because you don't see this the way that, and it's like, yo, then stop wasting your time. Like, because I can't affect anyone's reality. Yeah. Only my own.
That's true. That is very true. That's definitely something took me a while to learn as well, because I used to be very and this term is going to come off as offensive, I don't know what other term to use, but like social justice warrior, and then I had to like take a step back and realize, like, wait a minute, I still go out and I do stuff in my community, but trying to knock people over the head with stuff, I've learned is not gonna.
There's a lot of different ways to fight wars. There's a lot of different ways to win wars. I think that, like,
very true.
I hear people use that term social justice warrior in like a negative, or like I've been called that before, where people are like, you're such a social justice warrior, and I'm like, justice or social animal war? I don't see no kind of insult in that whatsoever. Like, but I do. And in the last,
I think because the term is typically meant for the ones that are going out making a bunch of noise but not actually doing anything.
I mean? It's the Facebook.
That's the social justice
those
warrior.
Folks, like, well, and it's interesting too.
Maybe we shouldn't call them that.
Right. Or like
keyboard warrior.
I used to be one of those folks, and that's not to say that I wasn't doing anything on the side. You hear my last 10 years of resume is like working in the community and with these communities. But I used to go really hard on the Facebook. I used to argue with people as though it was going to change someone's mind. And I've actually had some guy come up when I put my last poetry book out. He came and found me in a Chinese restaurant, was like, Andrew. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you roasted me and called me all kinds of things like 3 years ago in this group chat. And like, I hated you for it, but then I realized you were right like a year ago. Can I get a copy of that new book? Like, which was cool. So it does happen. So like those of you who like, that's your thing, like, go ahead. You might change your mind, like one of 1,000, but you're going to like, I'm just saying, take care of your own mental health.
It seems like there's a lot more efficient ways to do stuff. I feel you.
I mean, like, and that's like all in, like, I got people who love to debate. Like, I got some homies that love to debate. So if that's your thing, like, do it. But also, like, I'm not trying to have folks who are like about movement and about progress and about loving the community shamed because they're not gonna be on Facebook fighting with everybody all the time, or they're not, you know what I mean? Like, in the same way that, like, I'm not trying to have folks like bullied into being out at protests and being out on the front lines either. Like, there is so much work to be done that everyone can be doing it. We need creation and destruction, and we need them at the same rate. If we're like talking about replacing a system, then you have to be building a system at the same time. So, I think for me, it's been a big transition along with that ultraviolet thing in the last like year and a half, from more of a being out on the front lines and I was out in Sacramento when the arena got shut down. I was at the arena. I was on the freeway when it got shut down. Like, we were out there. Right. Those are my folks out there. I love those people. I love everyone in Sacramento who's been pushing and fighting the system out there and working to like make a change. And there's just a lot of different ways to do it. And I think we get pigeonholed into thinking that our way, like if you don't fight the same way I fight, then you're not on my side.
Right.
And it's like, yo, like we got an army, a navy, a air force, you know what I mean? Like we got
Right.
different strategies. So, you know, folks just, you know, find a lane that feels good to you. Like for me, it used to be about like, you know, smashing down some stuff and destroying some stuff. And now it's really on some like, I'm just trying to love actively.
Well, I think an important thing that you mentioned is if you're trying to break down a system, you need to be building a replacement for it. And I feel like that's a mistake I used to make back in the day. And I guess what I perceive as social justice warriors is the ones like, oh, it's just, you're just going to complain. You're just bringing a problem. You're not bringing any solutions. Because that's not going to, I was just talking to somebody recently and they had mentioned, like with religion, how there's a lot of these, woke black people that bash black people for being Christian because they say it's the slave thing, when actually if you really look into the history of it, it didn't even start there, but we won't get into all of that. But if you're trying to take away their God, what are you replacing it with? You know what I mean? Like they need that in their life. That might not be your thing, but they need that. So if you're taking that away, what are you going to substitute it with? But yeah, in the bigger picture, it's just, in my opinion, it's pointless to point out problems without thinking of solutions.
I mean, I think that's how you can't get to the solution without pointing out the problem. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's so much
definitely.
dwelling on the problem. Like there is like
Just
we need
don't
to be
stop
like,
there.
yeah, we need to be like, here's the problem. Okay, cool. Move.
Yeah.
Towards solution. Let's get on the solution vibration right now. And I think a lot of times we do get stuck in that like, and it's hard not to focus on it when it's surrounding you. And for a lot of folks, like especially like traditionally marginalized communities, when you get beat up from the moment you put your feet on the floor,
there's definitely like, a certain level of tenacity that has to be in place. Yeah. And I think that's, you know, we're not all leaders. We're not all artists. You know what I mean?
We were out at the intersection this last Tuesday, and folks were talking about the...
shout out to Kaya Osborne.
Yeah, Young Calypso.
I was there. I peeped it.
And so we're talking about community, and this young man, shout out to Gaston, gets up and from the like just the very bottom of his heart, you could tell that this is where it came from, and he was just like, yo, smile at someone, be kind, say something nice to someone and mean it, and change the world, like on a daily. And like that's really, you know, like the smallest effort, you know what I mean? Like, not, again, we don't need everybody out here protesting. We don't need everybody out here, you know, not everybody got to run for office. Not every, you know, like it can be little things, but everybody got to roll. If you get up and you find 5 people to like throw a smile at, say something nice to, open the door for, you know what I mean? Like that goes so far energetically, you know, and we are vibrational beings. So, you know.
And as I mentioned on Serious P's episode as well, all of these cats that I put on this show are vibrating at a slightly higher level than the average, I would say. Which some days. Some days. Or at least aspiring to, which in and of itself is something, you know. We do have about 10 minutes left. So what I like to do at the end of the show is read horoscopes. Because why not? So what's your sign?
I am a Cancer.
A Cancer. Okay, I'm going to read Pisces first because you'll lose interest in Pisces. So I'll bring you back with the Cancer afterwards. But I know I got some Pisces listening out there. So Pisces horoscope, May 5th, 2019. It's time for you to say so long to those ambiguous and flirtatious conversations you've been having with that certain someone. They've been quite enjoyable, but they have also been a bit of a waste of time, haven't they? For better or for worse, today you two are going to get to the heart of the matter and clarify what you can or cannot be to each other. Resist the urge to say only what you think this person wants to hear. Be true to yourself and to what you want.
Yeah, Pisces.
That's deep.
Get your life together. Go have a hard conversation.
Freaking water signs out here. Cancer. It's funny because Sirius was a Scorpio, and I was telling him, like, as a Pisces, like, y'all not even water signs in my universe. We are the only water signs. So Cancer horoscope, May 5th, 2019. If you sense that someone is trying to get a rise out of you today, do yourself a favor and don't react emotionally. Doing so will only demonstrate that this button-pushing behavior works. Turn off your emotions and walk away from an annoying situation if you have to. This person wants your attention very badly, but you should give it on your own terms. If you refuse to put up with bad behavior, you'll have to deal with less and less of it as time goes on.
Word.
Just so you know.
No, that's real. That's real. That's and I mean that's that whole trip I've been on. Control your emotions and keep your power.
I think, who is that? Paul Willis just popped in. Shout out Paul Willis.
What up, P-Will? I got Brandon Leak over here on this one saying what up.
What's up, Brandon?
What it do, G? Let's build.
Yes, we already building. You're more than welcome.
We in the building. Building.
Well, that's another thing too. One of the things we've connected on is the organizational stuff, and kind of like built this alliance between Sacramento and Berkeley and us, which is why I'm able to have my mixed metaphors out in Sacramento in June. So
hey,
thank you for setting that up.
Shout out to Gabby at the Blue Lamp, always supporting hip hop.
Gabby, yeah, I know she does a lot of the underground hip hop shows.
Man, if it wasn't for the Blue Lamp, hip hop would have been dead in Sacramento. Like when they tried to run that hip hop band, Gabby was the only like club owner that was like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Like, you need to stop hanging around outside of my bar and watching these hip hop shows. Like, right. Tough, you know what I mean? Like, because they would be on the hip hop shows. As soon as there was a hip hop show, you'd have cops parked at every corner just waiting to chicken hawk folks leaving. Right. Like, right. Yeah. All bad. So shout out to Gabby, and they got a new venue as well, the Colony out in Sacramento. That's in Oak Park, and it's
Colonial.
Yeah. Well, the Colony's next door to the Colonial. So the Colonial is like the big historical theater, and then the Colony's next door to a little more DIY, a little more punk rock, but it's an all ages venue in Sacramento. So they're currently like holding down two of the only spots other than Soul Collective that's doing local, all ages shows. Right.
That's similar to the venue that I'm working with out in Berkeley, 924 Gilman.
Yeah.
Shout out J Panda. Yeah. Shout out Double Dragon.
Yeah, big fans. Big fans of those guys. I got Jay on Facebook.
Yeah, he's been. We're gonna set that meeting up.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Punk rock. And actually, Blackwater Cafe here, Plea for Peace, like we're saying, they started as majority punk rock venues. Yeah. It's funny because punk rock has always been like the other genre to embrace hip hop. And Grouch says something like, they don't give a F just like we don't give a F. It's always been that same
so real
mentality.
I've been yelling about this in Sacramento since I got there. That is the only city that I know that the punk rock and the hip hop don't like mess with each other like that, and I don't understand why they don't. A couple years ago, or maybe a year ago, we got Destroy Boys and like Hobo Johnson, and they started doing some stuff together. So that was really cool because that's some of the best punk and hip hop in the city at the time. Right. But yeah, I'm always pushing for that. I got super punk rock roots. Like I want nothing more than to crowd surf at the end of a hip hop set. Like that's all I want in life, really. Like. So yeah, shout out to all the punk rock kids, and shout out to again Gabby making a space.
Yes, Thank you, Gabby. Shout out. She's more supportive than some of my local venues.
She's more supportive than some of my family members. You know what I mean? real talk.
That's real. That's real, though. Well,
also, if you go to the Blue Lamp, order yourself a ZF Jesus.
Oh, they will. Yes. When you come to Mixed Metaphors at the Blue Lamp, it's mandatory that you order ZF Jesus.
And if you don't drink, get the ZF Jesus juice. It's just as good.
And then we have to wrap this up because you have an event tonight, right?
Yeah, we're doing the most open mic in the city every first Sunday, 808 at the Soul Collective. That's 2574 21st Street. We've got the infamous hater screen out tonight. So we broadcast a giant screen behind the stage that people can text into to let the performers know what they thought of the performance.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a little wild sometimes.
Yeah.
But everybody walks away with a real honest opinion on how their art was doing and how the audience was feeling them. So
yeah, Ronnie, shout out Ronnie with Rise and Shine 209.
What it do, Alien Logic?
My partner in crime for Mixed Metaphors. We went out there and checked it out last month, and I will be out there again tonight. So Stockton will be dope to see some of y'all out there.
Yeah.
Paul Willis says, "People, here go the secret. You already got everything you needed the moment that you think it."
Hey, that's the turnaround.
The work is to accept it and bring it to fruition. Your inner, you know the route, so trust your intuition.
Trust your intuition.
And he says, I performed at the Rock Against Racism show a couple of years ago. It happens, but not often.
Oh, okay. Word. We got some punk rock and some hip hop and sack.
Right.
You just got to be upper echelon artist like Paul Willis to get approached.
Paul Willis is hip hop, okay?
He is. I seen his Instagram
At
handle.
Instagram,
it told me.
Paul Willis is hip hop. Guys, go follow him. He's been doing some dope stuff.
Yo, Real Talk ZFG wouldn't be what it was without Paul Willis. Straight up, like I mess with that dude because he's like literally my brother. But like, man, there aren't many human beings who I got more respect for than Paul Willis. So y'all should check it out. He's putting out like 17 mixtapes this year. All of them got 35
my
tracks.
Audience, I've interviewed him on here. So
word.
Yeah, we know about his 5 albums. 2 of them is out. Wait, no, I think one of them is out. One of them is in production. One of them is slightly less in production, and
Look,
then 2
Paul,
are coming.
You still got
All
me.
right.
You got me out here doing promo for you right now, Paul. That's how good you are at this.
Shout out that East Coast mentality.
Real talk.
I vibes with that. But then you guys are going to see Stockton, Paul Willis a lot more incorporated with me and some of the other folks out here. We're going to be doing some things. That was part of the reason why I had to push Mad Spill's interview back till Tuesday. Shout out FS Max and Mad Spill. Their interviews will be out Tuesday. And once again, I do have tickets to give away for both the Zion concert coming up May 10th at Hype Bar and Grill and the first annual kickboxing tournament put on by Neil Amos and Jerome Clay over at the Eagles Hall, May 25th. So once I get some time, I will make that post, and then y'all can share and like and stuff and win some tickets or something like that, you know?
I'm going to throw a copy of Ultraviolet in there, too.
Oh, see? Now, man, that's three chances to win something, guys. It's crazy out here. Big facts. Shout out Spill, Mad Spill. Says Paul Will is.
P. Will.
P. Wizzle. So actually, since we shout out Mad Spill, let me go ahead and put one of his songs on to take us out.
I'm so excited to meet the rest of these brothers in the 3D. Like, we've been kind of like
tagging
functioning a little bit on Instagram. Like,
yeah.
I'll be like sending some fire emojis, and then we'll like talk back and forth a little bit. But I'm mad hyped to like just vibe with these folks in the physical realm.
I know if we weren't so busy as individuals, it would have been dope to like, and maybe it still could happen. I mean, there will be sound check, but I definitely want to get you guys to sit down and like have a conversation together before y'all.
I'm trying to have a whole seance before we start. You know what I mean? So I don't know how everybody else feels about that, you know what I mean? But I'll have my candles, and yeah.
We'd probably be down for a group meditation. I probably could make that work.
We gotta start somewhere, you know what I mean? Like every good seance starts somewhere. So.
Word. No, but like I said before, you guys all have really dope energy. You guys are really positive lights in our community in and of yourself. So I know that the culmination together on the stage that night, even if Zion and I wasn't performing, it would be an amazing show. So add on his OG energy, and this is going to be fantastic. Y'all really are going to be missing out if you don't cop these tickets.
And Crypto's going to be out there? Come on.
And then DJ True Justice.
Come on. What more do you want?
I was peeping his stuff on the Spotify. Oh, shout out my Spotify playlist if you want to check out all the artists that are on the show. DJ True Justice be making some slappers, man, for real. But so I'm going to play Channels from Mad Spill, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you, sir, for coming down from Sacramento. Appreciate your time and energy.
Absolutely.
You guys go check him out on all the digital platforms.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Christian Mingle, Farmers Only, all the websites.
SoundCloud, Spotify, Bandcamp,
Google Play,
Apple.
Yep.
All those things. Follow him. Go listen to the music. Hit him up. He's got physical copies of the CDs because he's been doing this for 10 years.
Yo, you actually make money that way. It's a trip.
I know a lot of these newer artists don't understand that. But, that's what Hella Deadass is here for.
Look, I can't even play CDs. I don't have a way to play CDs, so I get it when people don't want to buy CDs.
I don't have a way to play CDs, and I buy CDs at shows.
Because you want to support, because you're a good music supporter, right?
But a lot of people do that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, like...
People buy records. I know all these cats don't got record players.
But it's literally, like, if you do the math on Spotify, you have to listen to one of my songs 166.6 times in order for me to make $1 off of it.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Just
if you are already Jay-Z, it makes sense.
Buy your favorite artist, like your favorite local artist, just buy their album. Buy a t-shirt,
Save up. Save up them dollars for 10 days.
Skip the dispensary one time.
Skip freaking Starbucks.
Real.
All right. So Mad Spill and Channels. Here we go. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you Tuesday, I believe.
You ain't gotta play a sport. And just because you're talented, you ain't gotta ball. You can have it all if you crawl before you walk. Real talk, hands up now. Now give it up for yourself. All I show is love. Yeah, we vibe to the sun. Come on. One's up to the sky. Hands up.